Kalli Dakos. I'm the author of the book, Our Principal Promised to Kiss a Pig. And on Friday, May the 6th, in the year 2016, I visited Hornell Intermediate School. And I remember that Mr. Gaffney really did kiss the giant pig that I brought with me. It wasn't a real pig, though, but later on, I know he did kiss several real pigs. Well, I want to say hi, Mr. Gaffney, and hi to Miss Walter, and hi to the teachers and the students at Hornell. I have never visited a school where I had more fun than I did in your school. Mr. Gaffney was fun, and he kissed the pig, and well, he did a lot of other things too that Mrs. Walter dreamed up for him to do. Well, I arrived at the school and I was given a basket. And in the basket there were letters from the students, many, many letters, and pictures of books. And then I was also given things to eat in the hotel room, all kinds of different wonderful things. I was also given a coupon to go to an ice cream store. And I thought, I have time this afternoon. I'll go with my coupon. And I went over, and the people there knew all about me. They knew all about the pig book. They knew all about the celebration that was coming in the town. And I thought, this is a wonderful town where everyone is participating. Well, Mrs. Walters is very, very funny. And she came up with a wonderful idea that took my book even further. She told me that Mr. Gaffney was going to kiss not one, not two, but 3 pigs. And then Mrs. Walter told me about the parade the school would have when the children read the books. And at the end of the parade, everyone would be invited to the high school where Mr. Gaffney would kiss the biggest and final pig. In a few moments, I will read The Principal and the 3 Pigs. But first, I must tell you about a video. I was working on a manuscript about a bookmark that was afraid of the scary pictures in books. Ms. Walter shared the story with everyone at Hornell, and then the students at that time did a video for me. I loved the video. It was amazing and really brought that book to life. You can still find it on the internet. But then something happened. I liked the video so much that when the book came out, the pictures were not like they were in the video, and I missed the pictures that Hornell had created. Well, here's the book that Hornell Intermediate School helped me with a long time ago, called Get Me Out of This Book. The title was changed from a book about a bookmark to Rules and Tools for Being Brave. So thank you, everyone at Hornell who helped me to create this book. And now for your readathon, I want to read the story I wrote that was inspired in May of 2016. It is based on a true story, and both Mr. Gaffney and Mrs. Walter are characters in the story, and so are the students in your school. The Principal and the 3 Pigs. Mr. Gaffney is our principal. He wears a shirt and a tie to school. Mrs. Walter is our librarian. She has strange and funny ideas. One day, Mrs. Walter makes an announcement to the students. I am challenging you to read 9,000 books, she says. If you do, Mr. Gaffney will kiss a pig. We all start to giggle. Mr. Gaffney tugs at his tie. Oh no, Mrs. Walter, I couldn't possibly kiss a pig. I am the principal and I must be serious. Hogwash, replies Mrs. Walter. It will be fun for everyone. I don't like to read, shouts Jacob. Hogwash, says Mrs. Walter. You just don't know it yet, but one day you will like to read. 9,000 books, shrieks Maria. That's too many. We will never read them all. Hogwash, says Mrs. Walter. We can divide the books into smaller numbers to make it easier. When we read 3,000 books, Mr. Gaffney will kiss a small pig. When we read 6,000 books, Mr. Gaffney will kiss a medium pig. When we read 9,000 books, Mr. Gaffney will kiss the biggest pig I can find. Mr. Gaffney tugs at his tie. Well, I might be able to kiss a small pig, and I might be able to kiss a medium pig, but I couldn't possibly kiss the snout of a big pig. It would be too soggy, wet, and gross. Hogwash, says Mrs. Walter. If you can kiss a small pig and a medium pig, then you can kiss a big pig. We all chose our books. Carlos reads poetry to his dog after school. Jacob finds a book with a big truck on the cover. I love this book because I love trucks, he says. We read books at lunch, at recess, on the playground, even on the bus. Soon, all 3,000 books have been read. Mrs. Walter meets everyone in the gym with a small pig. His name is Harold, and he has a curly tail. Mr. Gaffney is there too. She holds Harold in her arms and says, "The children have met the first challenge. Now, Mr. Gaffney, you must kiss Harold." Mr. Gaffney looks at the pig and says, "This is silly. A principal cannot kiss a pig." "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter. "You have already promised to kiss this small pig." Mr. Gaffney takes off his glasses. He huffs and he puffs and he huffs and he puffs, and he takes a big breath and he kisses Harold on his wet, sticky snout. Everyone laughs and giggles and cheers. Harold shakes his behind and twirls his tail. We all go back to reading. Jamie reads to his goldfish. Sammy reads to his grandfather. Maria reads her favorite book 3 times. Finally, we have read another 3,000 books. Mrs. Walter meets everyone in the gym with a medium pig. Her name is Charlotte. She is pink with brown dots. When Mr. Gaffney sees Charlotte, he tugs at his tie and says, "I cannot take the time to kiss this medium pig." "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter, holding Charlotte. "If you can take the time to kiss a small pig, then you can take the time to kiss a medium pig." Mr. Gaffney takes off his glasses. He huffs and he puffs and he huffs and he puffs, and he takes a deep breath and he kisses Charlotte right on her gooey snout. Everyone laughs and giggles and cheers. Mr. Gaffney looks ill. Charlotte sits on a table and makes happy squealing sounds. Now we will read 3,000 more books, and Mr. Gaffney will kiss the biggest pig of all, states Mrs. Walter. We read and read and read, and before long we have finished 3,000 more books. Mrs. Walter makes an announcement. We will have a parade to celebrate the day that Mr. Gaffney kisses the biggest pig. "A parade?" questions the principal. "There is no time for a parade. We have arithmetic, reading, and spelling to do." "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter. "It will be so much fun." Everyone in the town comes out for the parade and the final kiss. The children march with their friends. The cheerleaders jump and twirl. The school band plays the same song over and over again because it is the only one they know. Mr. Gaffney sits on a hay wagon at the end of the parade. His tie and his face are the same color, green, but he smiles and waves to everyone. Right behind him on the hay wagon is the biggest pig you could imagine. Her name is Gloria, and she is sound asleep. The entire town meets in the high school gym for the final kiss. Gloria wakes up and snorts. Mr. Gaffney starts to cough. "If you will excuse me, I have a meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Jones," he tells Mrs. Walter. "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter. "Mr. and Mrs. Jones are here to watch you kiss the pig." 980 eyeballs are frozen right on Mr. Gaffney and Gloria. Mr. Gaffney takes off his glasses. He huffs and he puffs and he huffs and he puffs and he huffs and he puffs, and he looks right into Gloria's blue eyes and then down to her giant snout and cries, "This snout is too big and yucky, and I really can't kiss it." "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter. "The students read all 9,000 books, and you must keep your promise to kiss the biggest snout of all." Mr. Gaffney huffs and he puffs and he huffs and he puffs, and he takes a giant breath, and he kisses Gloria right on her soggy snout. Everyone claps and cheers, except for Gloria. She lies down and goes right to sleep. Mr. Gaffney turns to Mrs. Walter and says, "Now I can go back to being a serious principal. I won't have to kiss any more pigs." "Hogwash," says Mrs. Walter. "Wait until you hear my plans for next year."